The last thing I want to talk about today are triads. Triads are chords that are built out of three notes: the root, the third, and the fifth. And probably the easiest way to think about this is to relate it to the major scale. If we're in the key of C, we have our C major scale. We took the root, the third scale degree, and the fifth scale degree. We'd have our triad: C, E, and G. Let's take another key. If we played in the key of A, our triad would be the root, A, the third, C sharp, and the fifth, E. There are different kinds of triads. I want to play each one for you so you can really hear what they sound like. Triads always use the same intervals: the root, the third, and the fifth. So if we base it off of our major scale, here in the key of C, we have the root, the third, and the fifth. Now, there are some alterations we can make to this. There are four kinds of triads, the most common being major and minor. And a minor triad is when we lower the third by a half step. The other variations on this are augmented, where we take a major triad and raise the fifth, or diminished, when we take the minor triad and lower the fifth. So knowing your key signatures and your scales really help, because we can take this into any key and do the same thing. Let's go up to the key of E flat, let's say. Based on the major scale, it'd be E flat, G, and B flat make up our major triad. If we wanted to make that minor, would lower the third, G would become a G flat. We have our minor triad. If I wanted to make this diminished, I would lower the fifth now, along with the third. And if I wanted to make this augmented, I would take a major triad and I would raise the fifth to put a B natural. So it can be helpful to get this sound in your ear, sit down at a piano and just pick a key and really get these sounds of these triads in your ear. Today we're just focusing on the major triad, but next week we'll pick up with our minor scales and our minor triads. So each triad has a very particular sound. It's very recognizable, but today we're just going to focus on the major triad. And you can find the major triads written out for you on page 78. The nice thing about the triad, just like the scale, the triad is a universal fingering. So if you have your major scale fingering, you can use that exact same fingering and just pick out root, third, and fifth. So it's always going to be second finger, first finger, fourth finger to get that major triad. So you can start that anywhere on the instrument, and you can find your major triad. You just got to find the root with your second finger, and remember that fingering: 2, 1, 4. I would add this triad to the end of your scale practice. So, for example, we can do all the variations that we've done this far. Play your scale, then do the scale in thirds. You could do the variation where we have the root in between each scale degree. And then you could add your arpeggio. And this arpeggiating something is to play the chord tone up and down. So the chord tones would be the root, third, fifth, and the octave. So at the end of your scale practice, add that arpeggio there. And if there's any confusion, they're all written down on page 78, 79. Let's take a look at number 65 just to get some practice playing these in a musical setting. So this starts with an E major arpeggio to an A major. Of course, those are the two examples where we're not, those are some of the examples where we're not using the universal fingering if we're using open strings. Then we have a B major, tap back down to the E. Then in the fourth line, they're still using the triad, but they're inverting it a little bit. So you have the root up here on the G, the high G, then going to the third below, and the fifth. It's still a triad, it's just inverted. So let's give this a shot. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 1 to the A, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, B. Letter B. And to the top. Up to the coda. And let's try the very next one, number 66, Funky Little Blues. This is also using triads all through this. This gives you the option of, if you wanted to close that D, you could shift up and play the C with first finger and D with fourth finger, or you could use an open D. Same here. You could shift up to that D. I prefer often closing those strings. Let's try number 66. 1, 2, and 3, and 4.